Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this full moon of Leo, also known as the Sirius Festival, related to the great star Sirius. And as you can see on the screen, the exact time of the full moon occurs here in New York at 11:29 this evening, and you can calculate the time in your area. And it would be really important for all of us to link up again. 15 or 20 minutes prior to that time so that we can be in meditation in conjunction with all the other individuals and groups throughout the world who are working also um, at this great time of expectancy. There is a sense of expectancy in the air, and rightly so, because of the powerful alignment that is established at this time. So this mantra, the mantra of the disciple given out by the Tibetan master, speaks to this alignment. So let's begin with a brief alignment exercise and then followed by the sounding of the mantra. So let's link up with each other, heart to heart. And let's join our group with all other groups of seeking, serving individuals. And now let's extend our alignment to the heart center of our planet, the spiritual hierarchy. Into the heart of the sun, into the great star Sirius. So forming a triangle with Sirius at the apex, the heart of the sun, and hierarchy. I am a point of light within a greater light. I am a strand of loving energy within the stream of love divine. I am a point of sacrificial fire, focused within the fiery will of God, and thus I stand. I am a way by which humanity may achieve. I am a source of strength, enabling them to stand. I am a beam of light, shining upon their way, and thus I stand. And standing thus, revolve, and tread this way, the way of humanity, and know the ways of God, and thus I stand. The Tibetan predicted that the Sirius Festival, which will occur at the time of the Leo full moon, would become widely celebrated in future decades. And it seems that we have reached that time uh, because many, many people throughout the world are recognizing the real importance of this opportunity to align with what the Tibetan calls uh, the star that stands to our sun as the monad stands to the personality. So we can perhaps with that analogy get a brief inkling of the potency of this great star, which overshadows our solar logos, the great sun of our system, as the monad overshadows the personality. And the Tibetan does tell us that this great star of such magnitude along the second ray line does have a direct and ancient relationship with our somewhat insignificant planetary logos, the great Sanat Kumara. We're told there is a long-standing ancient relationship between these two lights, and even though we stand as a non-sacred planet, there is some kind of karmic connection, and therefore this great energy pours into our hierarchy, we're told, not into Shambhala, into our hierarchy at this time um, with a great blessing for our planet. Um, and we're told that Sirius is related to many different factors, some of which are listed here. It's a star that's called bright, sparkling, heavenly object. The Tibetan tells us it's the great star of sensitivity. And he does equate sensitivity as one of the key qualities of Leo, conferred, it seems, by the esoteric ruler of the sun veiling Neptune. Neptune, as we discussed last month, is very much related to this astral Buddhic sensitivity. We're told that Sirius is the home of the Blue Lodge, which is the prototype to our hierarchy, and that many members of the hierarchy will eventually, at the time of the sixth initiation, find their way to this great Blue Lodge, where they will become humble aspirants. So great is the majesty of the hierarchical work on Sirius. And it's related to freedom. The Tibetan tells us that. So again, I'd like to quote the great initiate Jean-Jacques Rousseau in his famous line that man is born free, yet everywhere he is enslaved. So this whole idea of freedom, which Rousseau brought forward in his writing, is very central to the energy which Sirius is pouring into our world, stimulating the urge to freedom. And I have a few quotes here that the Tibetan gave about this idea in Cosmic Fire. He said that the principle of freedom is a leavening energy which can permeate substance in a unique manner. This divine principle represents an aspect of the influence which Sirius exerts on our solar system and particularly on our planet. So he says that the freedom for which men fight is one of the lowest aspects of this type of cosmic freedom, which is related to certain great evolutionary developments which enable the life or spirit aspect to free itself from the impact, the contact, and the influence of substance. So it's related, we're here told, the freedom which Sirius confers is related to the freedom from the impact, contact, and influence of substance. And it is, we're told, this principle of freedom which enables our great planetary logos, Sanat Kumara, to dwell on this earth and yet stand free from all contacts, except those who have trodden the path of liberation, who themselves also stand free upon this cosmic physical plane. And then finally, the law of freedom does impose certain restrictions, if one can use such a paradoxical phrase. It is responsible for Sanat Kumara being known as the great sacrifice, for under the control of this law, he created our planetary life and all that is within and upon it, in order to learn to wield this law with full understanding, in full consciousness, and yet at the same time to bring release to the myriad forms of his creation. So it is about bringing freedom from this spiritual sense of enslavement which holds us in thrall. And the path is therefore called the path of liberation, meaning liberation from the control of matter, from the control of substance, and liberation principally through the mind and heart. And that's one of the great benefits of this Syrian influx, because it does stimulate the minds and hearts of humanity so that we can take our next step in freeing ourselves, not so that we can feel better, but so that we can serve more fully to act as liberating agents in our environment. This is the Leo Festival, um, the great sign of direction, purpose, and will. We know that Leo carries a strong second ray vibration through the rulership, the triple rulership by the sun, the second ray planet, but also on a higher level in terms of the teaching that the Tibetan brought forward on the ray triangles. We know that Leo stands within the first ray triangle and the fifth ray triangle, both along the first ray line. So there is a decidedly powerful influence in the combination of this strong first and second ray rulership of this sign. It is, as you know, a sign of courage, of strength, qualified by the will to illumine and the will to rule, as does the lion. And each sign is given a keynote, and we're asked to use this keynote in meditation and in our thoughts during the festival period to build in this quality into our planetary life. I am that, and that am I is the keynote for Leo, speaking to the three aspects, the three suns, which are related to, on the exoteric level, the sense of individuality, which is so strong in the Leo subject, the I am, and then the esoteric ruler being the sun veiling Neptune. I am that. I am the soul. That's the great transition that the Leo subject must make from the sense of individuality and separatism to the sense of union with the soul, and pouring that union through the individuality. So it's not a sense of losing one's individuality, but rather merging the soul through the personality, which is so possible in the Leo subject. And then the final aspect in this relationship of this keynote is the I am that, and that am I, speaking to the advanced Leo subject, the initiate under this sign, who, under the influence of the hierarchical ruler of the sun veiling the great seventh ray planet Uranus, can, we are told by the Tibetan, make that bridge into monadic alignment, so becoming the initiate. So it's a powerful alignment under this triple sun. It is often related to the three crosses, the exoteric sun, the exoteric rulership related to the mutable cross experience of many lives, the hidden Christ, the fixed cross experience wherein so many of us find ourselves, related very much to the esoteric ruler, the sun veiling Neptune, and then the cardinal cross experience after the third initiation, related very much to the hierarchical ruler again of the sun veiling Uranus. So it's a very strong sign of alignment. Alignment being the ability to bring one's lower vehicles under the control of the soul, and then eventually under the control of the triad and the monadic ray. So each of us finds ourselves at various stages of that alignment process. And at times such as this, when the planetary and extraplanetary alignments are so powerful, we can find ourselves coming perhaps under a greater sense of alignment ourselves. The Tibetan gives forth the teaching in esoteric astrology that all of the 12 signs of the zodiac are in fact overshadowed by extra zodiacal constellations. He doesn't give out the information for all of the signs, but perhaps we can study those and intuit what they might be. But fortunately for us, he does, in the case of Leo, give us that overshadowing cosmic constellation as being the great star Sirius. So it's part of the transmission of energy which is conferred at this time. He gives us the alignment as is established here for you to see, moving from Sirius to Regulus, which is a star found in the heart of the lion of the constellation Leo, through the heart of the sun, which he relates very much to an area of consciousness which the mystics of the world can penetrate into, not just at this Leo festival, but increasingly at each full moon. And then through an undiscovered trans-Neptunian planet, then through Uranus, and through the world teacher, sometimes known as the Christ, and the hierarchy of which he is the head, and then through our Buddhic astral vehicles, and then into all forms of life. So there is this direct transmission which he gives, which is so helpful. And certainly when the new teachings, the third dispensation of the teachings is given forward, I'm sure the Tibetan will help to clarify the transmission of energy which occurs in each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. But he did want us to know this alignment for Leo, and so he spells it out. Leo is a fire sign, one of the preeminent fire signs at this time. And as we know, we live in a fiery world. And the Tibetan asks us as spiritual seekers to assume a special role in relationship to this fire. So he says here in Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 1, that our role, as far as the aspirants are concerned, the one thing which the masters are endeavoring to bring about is the stimulation of the flame of spirit in them, so that they may set the world on fire. The fires of judgment and of substance, of karma and its vehicle matter, are raging in the world at this time. Fire must be countered by fire, as well you know, and to stop the raging inferno of fire which is today devastating the world, the fire of spirit must be opposed, distributed, and effectively used by the disciples of the masters. The fire which must, in the final analysis, be used by the disciples in the world is the fire of the will to love. So, what better time to bring forth within our own hearts this fire of the will to love, which can serve to free us from the lower fires of our critical minds, the mind which can slay the real, and to use the fire of spirit collectively as a group uniting with all the other spiritual groups throughout the world to bring forth this freedom, which we can release into the world at this Sirius festival. We can stand as a great band of brothers, as this image depicts, reaching out in our hearts and minds as a group to our sun, to Regulus, and to Sirius, releasing this great inpouring of light and love into our world. But there is another alignment that the Tibetan speaks about specifically in relationship to this great sign of Leo, and that is the relationship with the great star Polaris, which you can see here in the diagram stands as the central point because it is the North Star at this time. The North Star, as we know, changes over thousands of years, and for this period it is working through the great Polaris, which stands at the handle of Ursa Major, or the Little Bear. Sometimes it's called, this constellation of Ursa Major is called the Wings of the dragon being the great constellation Draco, which the Tibetan points out is one of these overshadowing cosmic constellations working through our 12 zodiacal signs. So this part of the world is called the gateway of the immortals, from which all life springs. The ancient peoples throughout all times always recognized these constellations in the heavens as a type of portal into another dimension. And this, the Tibetan seems to also bring forward this idea of the importance, especially for planet Earth, of the alignment between this great star Polaris and all of Ursa Minor to the 7 stars of Ursa Major, which we know form the portal for the inflow of the 7 stars of the 7 rays. Each of these stars forms a portal for the inlet of the 7 rays, which along with Ursa Minor form a powerful alignment which pours through planet Earth. And that's why probably the one of the sutras in the Light of the Soul spoke that if we concentrate on the pole star, Polaris, we can understand esoteric astrology. It is this pondering upon this portal, which can create a powerful alignment in consciousness, which can serve to transport us into realms that can be revelatory. So again, the alignment here that the Tibetan speaks about is conferred between these two stars in the Great Bear or Big Dipper, which are known as the pointers. These two stars point to the North Star. So in the ancient days, the sailors, if they were able to locate the Big Dipper in the sky, they could find easily the North Star, which would guide them in their routes. But this is a symbol, the Tibetan says, of alignment in the sky. And Polaris, he says, is known as the star of redirection, reorientation. And it's instrumental in pulling the masses of humanity off of the path of the mutable cross experience of many lives onto the path of the fixed cross, onto the path of discipleship. It is as we begin to, this star Jubei is symbolic of the individual will, and it is found in the sign of Leo at 14 degrees. It's a sign of the individual will. And so the Tibetan tells us that as the masses of humanity, under the influence of the individual will, the lower will, begin to respond to this North Star influence, this Polaris influence, they begin to shift and eventually find themselves coming under the control of this other star in the Great Bear known as Merak, which is related to purpose. So I think this is a great triangle in the heavens, a cosmic triangle, which Tibetan definitely says has a potent effect on us, on disciples in the world. Merak forming, I think, the top point, the first aspect, Polaris, the second aspect, and Jubei, the third or personality aspect of that star. So I'd just like to close by reading a few points related to this Polaris, because they're very interesting. He says that as we link up with the energy which stands behind Polaris, because Polaris is actually a veil, it will link us up to the source of creative impression and divine supply. And if I can find my other point. Well, I didn't actually mark it very clearly, so I won't read that quote, but just to say, suffice it to say that if you would like to read more about the influence of Polaris, you can do so under the section on the fifth ray path in Cosmic Fire, page 1261, 1262, where he gives a lot of interesting information about how the masters who have chosen that path work, and how they are potently under the influence of the energy of this pole star, and that their work is related towards keeping their consciousness firmly aligned with this pole star and not allowing themselves to deviate in any way from that influence, so that they can transmit that great energy that substands Polaris into our planetary life, thus aiding the forces of freedom in our world. So I'd like to close with one final quote, because it's just very uplifting, from Treatise on White Magic. The Tibetan speaks these encouraging words: I, who have entered somewhat into an understanding of the life of the solar angel, seek to assure my fellow pilgrims that the passing things of the senses are but trivial and of no value compared to the rewards here and in this life to the individual who seeks to merge the everyday consciousness with that of the soul. He enters then into the community of souls and stands not alone. The only lonely periods are the result of wrong orientation and of the holding on to that which hides the vision and fills the hands so full that they cannot grasp what has been called the jewel in the lotus. So let us now work together with our meditation. Sound permeates all forms. Light permeates all forms. Focus in your body, in your etheric centers, and feel your light and sound blending with the light and sound of the planet and all life forms. Sense the interconnectedness of all life. As we build in the light, joining our group together with all groups throughout the world, we become part of a great network of light workers. Link with the soul of humanity, seeing this kingdom as pervaded by light and sound. Project the lighted bridge of the group Antakarana like a great beam of light into the inner ashram, taking our place on the periphery of the great circular group gathered there. Through the cultivation of the inner listening, sense the voice of the silence, which is the hierarchical life. See and hear this rhythm of sound and this myriad of chords and notes of the many groups blending with the music of the hierarchy. This is a steadily enriching symphony which is playing now. Imagine we project our consciousness into the inner flame, the radiant heart of the sun. And into the heart of the lion via the great star Regulus. And now make the connection with the great star Sirius, holding the mind open and receptive to impression. refocusing the consciousness within the group mind. We ponder the implications of the great law of freedom. It is this law that enables the life or spirit aspect to free itself from the impact, contact, and influence of substance. Sanat Kumara created our world under the control of this law. He created our planetary life and all that it was within it and upon it in order to learn to wield this law with full understanding, in full consciousness, and yet at the same time to bring release to the myriad forms of his creation. Radiance are we and power. We stand forever with our arms outstretched, linking the heaven and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus with the light we work and turn the darkness into day. Visualize a great outpouring of cosmic love through all planes and states of consciousness, releasing our planet from glamour and illusion and bringing about a healing on all levels. Visualize the energies working through humanity to the animal, vegetable, and mineral worlds. Now recenter our consciousness within the periphery of the great ashram and sound the affirmation of love. In the center of all love, I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the Divine Self be shed abroad, in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. Dedicate yourself and your group to the service of the plan. Visualize a ball of light with a circle and with a triangle inside, descending into the cave of the head. The triangle of the three planetary centers of Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, working out within the square. Ponder the work to be done at this time of preparation. Distributing the energies through the Ajna center into the planetary etheric body. And through the planetary centers of New York, London, Geneva, Darjeeling, and Tokyo. Sounding the great invocation in the adapted wording. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. If you take a moment of silence, if anyone has anything they'd like to share of their impressions. If anyone has an impression to share, they can raise their hand. Catherine, I can't hear you, Catherine. No, let's see. I didn't unmute you correctly. Okay, Catherine.
Okay, I wasn't sure whether I should speak or write.
Yeah.
So this may seem obvious, but I feel that for whatever reason during the Leo moon meditation, there were two things that really came true for me. One was the palpable sense of what it means to kind of have the spiritual fires kind of burn out the lesser lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a real note that's working in my inner life right now around my health habits and around everything, thought, speech, and just so that was an impression that came through very powerfully for me that I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Um, and then the second piece on maybe an even lighter note was that during the alignment with the hierarchy, I've experienced a really beautiful sort of rainbow beam. And I'm always, when we do the imaging, I'm always, the spatial part of my mind is always challenged as to how I'm going to arrange these various features
Yeah.
because I have a vivid imagination.
Yeah.
But in this case, I felt a really beautiful rainbow beam um, emanating between the heart of the earth, I'll call it, and hierarchy
Yeah.
with standing in the outer ring or holding that.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, that was just something I felt that I wanted to share.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful image. Mm, okay. Christina.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you so very much. You've wonderful putting of thoughts and meditations that you brought together very powerfully. I have been so embedded in humanity. I had my 5 and 9-year-old for the 9 days.
Mhm.
Huh. This was a real needed thank you for me. And it takes a while, I think, for impressions to come through, as we know. That's why there's a day of, registration after the full moon itself.
Yes.
But my first immediate one is that, and working just in terms of the zodiacal liturgical year with, bringing it down from the higher interlude, or the higher spiritual interlude, and then coming down into Cancer. And I always ground out. It's very interesting. I think I can talk about my chart, and I think maybe why. But it is this influx into the world, like the gateway to the world.
Mm-hmm.
It said that wonderful images that you getting out. We're on that influx into nourishing. Before then, I guess in Libra, we kind of balance out and, start kind of moving in a different direction. But I thought that was just really reinforced for me, that whole flow that we start at the beginning with Aries through Cancer and now to Leo.
Uh-huh.
And I guess that's it for the moment.
All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any impressions they'd like to share? As Marie Christina said, it is difficult to speak at these times, but thank you for sharing your thoughts. Okay, well, just a reminder, the exact time of the full moon, as I said, is at 11:29 p.m. New York time this evening. And so please do what you can to link up at that time. Thank you very much for your participation in this event. Bye-bye.